House progressives are demanding action on climate change be included in a new infrastructure framework. In a letter first obtained by CBS News, Missouri Democratic Congresswoman Cori Bush and 10 of her colleagues wrote to House leaders demanding that they embrace a more progressive climate agenda. The letter also criticizes the White House's proposed infrastructure goals and its attempt to negotiate with Republicans. For more on all this, I want to bring in CBS News' climate and energy reporter, Cara Korte. Cara, tell us more about what climate measures are activists and progressive Democrats really asking for in this infrastructure deal.
Well, this letter, Lana, is really the latest step in congressional progressives' attempt in trying to gain control once again in this infrastructure and climate ongoing discussion and negotiation that's going on. What they're asking for in this letter specifically is really not just to be included, but to lead the way. This letter, penned by Cori Bush, co-signed by some of her progressive colleagues in the House, is trying to convey a message to Speaker Pelosi and the other members of House leadership about changing the Democrat caucus procedure in all of these infrastructure talks. They're saying enough with any bipartisan attempts of trying to get a deal together here. We as progressives, we wrote the Green New Deal, and we believe that we should be leading the way in these discussions. So procedurally, they're asking to really be heard louder than anyone else in the room. And then what does that mean legislatively? Well, the Green New Deal, which they are obviously all proponents of, means investing more so than ever before in public housing and public transportation, public schools. They want to build a civilian climate corps and invest more in environmental justice. And that's going to cost $10 trillion, Lana. And that's a lot more than what we see coming from the White House right now. The proposed infrastructure plan right now looks like it's going to cost around $1 trillion. So a big difference, a big gap there.
Yeah, I want to frame this for our audience, Cara. There are two infrastructure proposals right now. There's a bipartisan deal that progressives say falls short on climate investments, and then this larger bill that Democrats plan to push through reconciliation. Can you explain how progressives hope that their message will shape either of those frameworks moving forward?
Of course, what we're witnessing is really a negotiation in process. It's that battle of leverage. We see that the White House is trying to coalesce around this bipartisan message, and progressives are saying, well, if you go too far to the middle or you try to go center right or center left in this issue, you're losing us as progressives. So it's this balance of power that obviously makes up so much of how Washington works. What progressives are saying at this point is that they will not consider any bipartisan infrastructure legislation if at the same time there is not a bold, progressive, complementary climate package that could be passed with 50 votes via budget reconciliation. So they're trying to collect their power, collect their own show of force to send a message to the White House saying, you're not going to get us to agree to any infrastructure deal unless you provide us with a very bold climate package as well.
It's really interesting how the Democratic Party, though they have control of the White House, the House, and nominally the Senate, really has this level of infighting. Cara, I'm wondering if we've seen reaction from the Democratic caucus regarding these demands from the more progressive wing of their party, including from House Speaker Nancy Pelosi.
We haven't heard anything from Speaker Pelosi yet, Lana, but I so agree with you. I think this really illustrates the struggle, the divide in the Democratic Party right now, which is that some members represent more moderate districts and some members are extremely progressive and believe so fervently that this is a once-in-a-generation opportunity to do something on climate. Remember, though, something important. Progressives believe that they have really the power of the people behind them, especially when it comes to young climate activists who are very vocal and not afraid to make their voices heard. And remember that part of what allowed Bernie Sanders to drop out of the presidential race last year was a deal that was brokered between Sanders and Joe Biden, agreeing that the two camps would work together in making Joe Biden a more progressive candidate. And a large part of that was Joe Biden at least in verbally, becoming more progressive on climate goals. So progressives believe today that the president needs to be held accountable for those promises he made, and progressive activists believe that they're a huge part of what got Joe Biden elected. So if they don't see him move more towards their direction on climate and on infrastructure, he's definitely going to hear about it.
All right. Cara, thank you.
Thank you.